Dead Money was the best Fallout DLC ever made.
You've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino. We all have. The legend, the curses, a bright, shining monument luring treasure hunters to their doom. It's still out there, in the wastes, preserved, just waiting for someone to crack it open. But getting to it, that's not the hard part. It's letting go.
Dead Money was the first DLC made for Fallout New Vegas, and it's the most controversial one. If you ask fans what they think of Dead Money, most of them will tell you it was the best DLC or the worst one, with little in between. And the people that say it's bad are wrong. We'll get to that, but note that we use mods to enhance our experience, such as Dead Money tweaks, with mixed results we won't be covering in this review. Oh, fuck. There's so many of them. Ow, 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 ow. The DLC takes the player on a mission around the Sierra Madre Casino and the surrounding villa. The environment is breathtakingly unique in Fallout, residing within a criminally constructed company town in the middle of the desert beneath a red cloud of death. While this is definitely a mark in its favor, that uniqueness does prove to be a challenge when trying to mod FMV graphically. Most graphic mods struggle to keep the oppressive feel of the villa and its cloud when enhancing the lighting and post-processing effects. We tried as best as we could to remain faithful to the intent, but ended up color grading our footage in post for our edited playthrough.
The cloud is what blankets the sky here. You may smell it in the air, copper and sulfur. Burns the lungs and seeps into the skin. It is unique across the wasteland, and deadly. It has kept this place preserved since the Great War.
A remarkable aspect of this DLC is that it isn't just an expansion of the core game's content. While other Fallout DLCs contend to add new quests, dialogue, and things to shoot, this one introduces entirely new mechanics that ensure a true reset in difficulty for the player, no matter how much of the core game you've already played. No amount of shooting things will intrinsically prepare the player for the multiple challenges introduced here, such as ghost people that cannot be killed, holograms that necessitate stealth, radios that require smart positioning, or the cloud that acts as a new environmental hazard. Learning how to juggle these constraints is the difficulty curve of Dead Money. Okay, seems to be walking over there. Shit. Oh, fucking hell. And yet, many characterize these new challenges as annoying or frustrating. Why? Are the threats of being poisoned or stabbed or decapitated to death truly that difficult? We think the reason for this backlash is counterintuitively because of the excess tutorialization that the game attempts, specifically to address this issue, inadvertently abetting it. Upon arriving in the villa, the player is forced to listen to the main antagonist, Elijah, give an exposition dump on the player's enslaved situation, the casino, and the new challenges. Even after this initial info dump, you're constantly reminded that things work differently here. Yes, we get it, the ghosts don't stay dead.
Avoid them if you can. They are difficult to kill.
They're difficult to kill unless you chop them apart.
You shoot them, they get back up. You stab them, they get back up.
Dog can tell when they not yet dead. Twitch a bit, make low noise, then noise when they get back up.
So we believe many players were impatient or uninterested in the narrative and just clicked through the introductory dialogue as fast as possible. While the player can choose to not engage in questioning, there's even a dialogue option in this introduction that results in your head getting blown off. And so it's not hard to imagine stubborn players spamming the first option presented to just get the dialogue done with so they can play the DLC. Ironically, Obsidian's attempt to ensure you know exactly how these new mechanics work via a 10-minute exposition results in players stumbling into the villa half-blind to the challenges that await them. We honestly think if this introduction was cut down significantly, more people would have listened and not had their heads blown off immediately, especially considering that Elijah reminds you with each new area of the villa.
Watch out for the villa inhabitants. Speakers and radios interfere with the bomb caller frequency and can trigger the detonators prematurely. Picking up signals near your location. Detonators. Watch for traps. Watch for security holograms. Dangerous. Don't shoot them. Attacking them is useless.
On top of that, the challenges aren't even thrown at you all at once. They're gradually introduced. Your first quest effectively gives you a choice with the DLC's 3 companions of whether you want to tackle the radios with Dog, the holograms with Christine, or the cloud with Dean. Most people go for Dog first, and we've seen complaints that people will always die there because of the numerous radios that set your bomb caller off. But this just isn't true. Look at our footage. We didn't die once, not a single time. You come into the station, are warned again about the radios, locate them one at a time, using the beeping time to your advantage, seeking out safe spots between their radii, and turn them off. Easy peasy. It's only hard if you're the kind of player who just zombies out and follows the quest marker blindly. Oh fuck. Okay, I was able to just get past that one. Oh no. Another radio.
That's me, there on the table. The disc. My voice.
This DLC clearly has more effort put into it than most Fallout DLC, to an extent that of course wouldn't be sustainable for every DLC. The main hook is twofold. 1, the player is enslaved, allowing you to start from nothing in microcosm of the main game. Being enslaved in a Fallout game isn't new, but it's never been done so thoroughly as here. 2, your mission is to conduct a heist of the grandest casino in the wasteland, untouched only because of the unique, wretched environment. Even after playing it, we're still like, you're enslaved and forced to do a post-apocalyptic heist? Yes, sign us up!
The opening was supposed to symbolize a road to a brighter future, not just for the world, but for all who came to its doors. A chance for anyone to begin again. Except the Sierra Madre never opened.
Dead Money has a definitive progression, divided into 3 acts. In the first act, you're sent to build your team, consisting of Dog/God the super mutant, Dean the ghoul, and Christine the wild card. In so doing, you learn to sidestep the radios, rush through the cloud, evade the holograms, and the tricks to ensure the ghost people don't get back up. In the second act, these challenges blend a bit more, as you prepare the positions for each of your team in new areas of the villa to initiate the grand opening of the casino, and how you do so affects your relationship with each of them. The third act is in the casino, where you face a gauntlet of challenges and resolve the story threads of each companion. Christine, we're almost ready here.
A single tap comes from the speaker, then silence.
Ready. The both of us. I'll keep Dog locked in his cage. You just open the Sierra Madre.
Come on, partner. So close now. Stage is set. Strike up the band.
The DLC doesn't really have an overtly political message, as its thesis is more fundamentally emotional and human. Over and over, you'll hear characters speak of letting go, and it's this idea that the player sees at both the beginning and the end of Dead Money. One might think that the theme of letting go is about greed or lust, but we'd say that this DLC is meant to be a warning of when passion becomes obsession. Every person trying to crack the Sierra Madre is corrupted of obsession. Even you, the courier. You've got a lot to answer for.
Do I? For what? Your greed? Curiosity? You came here on your own. No one held a gun to your head. I've seen your Pip-Boy archives, your map markers and notes. You picked up the Sierra Madre signal just as I did. You couldn't resist. The blame isn't on my shoulders. Might as well have put the collar on yourself.
Elijah is a fascinating character because of how central he is to the recent history of the Mojave, and you'll even be able to learn more about his exploits in future DLCs, despite him being an antagonist you must defeat in FMV's first DLC. At first, you're led to believe his obsession is greed. He wants to break into the Sierra Madre, simple enough. But as you play, you'll learn he's already cracked it. There's something else at play here. In the end, you find out that his obsession was in actuality a lust for power through a deceptively simple piece of tech. It's a masterful way of having his backstory as a Brotherhood elder inform his current accelerationist worldview and obsession for power, and all over a matter manipulation device disguised as a vending machine.
There's one last thing I want from the Sierra Madre. Its bounty. The machines that fill its streets, its corridors. Sources of food, supplies, medical assistance, ammo, make more callers, even print currency. Make a nation. The cloud allows me to wipe the slate clean. The vending machines provide everything else.
It turns out that the one with the obsession of greed isn't Elijah, but rather you, the player. Now, some of you might object to that characterization. After all, yes, you do start the DLC by following a radio signal promising wealth, but if you're a fan of FMV, odds are you would have followed any signal just to see the content. So, initially, accusations of greed may fall flat. But remember, the player is enslaved. You fight through the villa, scrounging the whole way for every poker chip, every bit of ammo. And we'd say our point is proven by the final reveal in the casino vault. You'll eventually find a massive pile of gold, but it is too heavy to take with you. You can't even lug it with you, as you will die if you don't leave with haste. You, the player, are tasked with letting go, the one thing Elijah could never do. There is an exploit where the player can use a stealth boy and foreknowledge to sneak out of the casino with the gold before time's up, which obviously goes against the fundamental message of the DLC. But in so doing, the frequency with which this exploit is used honestly proves the point of the player being obsessed with greed. So much so that you'll break the game to do it. Oh, fuck. How am I gonna get it out? Fuck. How could I tell them to let go if I can't? I'm just gonna have to leave it. Fuck it.
Huh?
Elijah!
What's
He's
this?
here. Then there's the companions. Christine's obsession is vengeance, as her only goal is to kill Elijah for what he's done. Should you save her, you have the option to convince her to let go of this obsession, allow someone else to kill him for her, or alternatively imprison him. Unfortunately, Christine's implementation as a mute character is a bit janky. Some might speculate it was a way to cut down on voiceover and save money, but considering that eventually her vocal cords heal and are a component of the heist, we don't believe that. The Bethesda system just really didn't have the support for pantomime animations here, but something should have been done to make her dialogue less of a chore. Even just having the parenthetical text narrated by an invisible narrator would have been enough. You can scrounge more somehow.
She smiles, nods. She stands still for a second, then stops and slowly makes the motion of bending down and scooping something up. Then she holds the imaginary object in her hand as if heavy, and puts it in front of her as if on a table. She then hefts what looks like a small box and pours it on top of the object, looks at it, then reaches down and holds up a small O.
Dean Domino is a famous singer from before the bombs who still lives in the villa. While pre-war goals have been done to death in Fallout, there is at least an implicit acknowledgement that the reason Dean has been stagnant for 200 years, never leaving this blighted company town, is due to his obsession, vanity. He spent his good years planning and plotting a heist on the casino, specifically despite its architect, because that man looked down upon him. And even 2 centuries later, Dean still waits for the right opportunity to try it again. His dialogue is filled with trap skill options. Normally, the game is content for players to presume these options make the good things happen, and it can genuinely be frustrating to find out only later in the third act that Dean has been holding a grudge against you the whole time. If you ever belittle him, he will betray you inside the casino, meaning the player must learn early how fragile his ego is, and to walk a tightrope with him. While this is a lot to ask of the player, it fits his character and is again asking that the player think of the implications of what they're doing.
Touched by radiation, and you choose to spend your time here. You could have just left, but you're too obsessed to let go.
I used to know a ventriloquist with more skill than you. At least he had the sense to know his own name without carving it into his chest.
And then you have the super mutant, specifically a Nightkin, who have been established as being prone to developing schizophrenia, and this one has dissociative identity disorder specifically. As Dog, he is a cannibal with an insatiable hunger, but you learn that his obsession isn't gluttony, it's submission. He wishes to please Elijah, you, or anyone he can call master. It doesn't matter what he's ordered to do. All that matters is his fulfillment. The other identity, God, comes across measured and intellectual, but again you learn his vice, his obsession, control. It's not enough for God to coexist with Dog, you, or anyone. He must be in charge, be in control. If you even try to hear Dog's perspective, God threatens to torture you to maintain what little control he actually has. Where's your collar?
Lost it. Got hungry. Made the other voice mad. Madder than it ever was. Mad enough to lock Dog up. Other voice, don't wake him up. When voice wakes up, Dog goes to sleep, and voice climbs up in Dog's head. The voice puts Dog in places, puts him in cages, and locks him in.
By the third act, you'll have earned the favor of one of them, and they fight for supremacy over their body. While you can side with either identity to preserve them, obsessions intact, the player has an option to have the two of them finally see each other for what they are. The identities are said to merge and form something new. While representation for plural people and DID is understandably a touchy subject, we think these two work because even though it's not a one-to-one match with what real people have to deal with, both Dog and God are given much humanity despite their vices. And ending with a merged identity doesn't invalidate the good that was present within them prior.
On my neck, is this a chain? What's carved on my chest? God. No, not God. Something in reverse. Was that one of them?
He remembers
Should rest.
them.
Get my strength back. Then explore this place. See what it holds.
Now, that's not to say that politics are absent from this DLC, or anything for that matter, and a lot can be gleaned from the backstory regarding the construction of the casino and the villa. The backstory centers a love story between Frederick Sinclair, architect of the Sierra Madre, and Vera Keyes, acclaimed singer. Sinclair is something of a billionaire, though he's said to have fallen on unspecified hard times. Even so, his project is the Sierra Madre Casino, an opulent casino and resort for the ultra-wealthy in the middle of nowhere. The villa is supposed to be where the less uber-wealthy live, and presumably the servants and workers. Sinclair is said to be a stickler for details, and yet for the villa, he hands over construction to the control of a number of contractors overseen by a Mr. Yesterday.
We have a sweet deal here, but some pretty great leverage too. I let Mr. Yesterday know that we might need to renegotiate our arrangement, move the percentage around, left records and maintenance in case things got difficult, blow this death trap wide open, agree to discuss things in the switching station so we wouldn't be overheard.
Honestly, it's needlessly complicated. It feels like the idea is that Sinclair was ultimately not an evil man, but one who was obsessed with love, which is what led him to neglect the villa into a state of being hollowed out by smaller companies, waiting leech-like at Sinclair's heels. As such, we'd say the ideology is the usual centrist liberalism. For all it does showing the depravity of a company town and the environmental hazards that are often produced by such capitalistic endeavors, it does much to try to make Sinclair sympathetic through neglect. You're expected to forgive Sinclair for the near war crime that is the villa, because it was actually folks like Mr. Yesterday that were responsible. And so, critical analysis results in Sinclair being just a former billionaire that is guilty only of criminal neglect, plus not disclosing Vera's chronic illness.
Mr. Yesterday says they can get the incident hushed up. After all, no one really saw what happened when the patio and the balcony collapsed. We can also see about getting the medical reports at the clinic scrubbed too, so it's all good. Still, I'm getting nervous. Whole thing's a big gamble. Won't be long before people see the villa for what it is. Sand, barely held together with duct tape and glue. We're protected legally, but even so, this is criminal. It's like he doesn't want this place to last.
But despite our concerns with the political aspect, it's really inconsequential because of just how good the writing is. The story between Sinclair and Vera, along with Dean, is genuinely compelling, even if you have to compartmentalize the deaths caused by Sinclair's decisions. In the casino, it's revealed that Vera was being blackmailed into supporting Dean's heist of the Sierra Madre, that her love for Sinclair was ulteriorly motivated. And then in the vault, it's further revealed in a shocking twist that Sinclair knew. His obsession wasn't love. It was despair. At some point he realized what a death trap the place was, and he just made a few alterations to ensure it would be Dean that would be trapped in it. And then you're smacked with a double twist. Vera confessed the night before the bombs fell. She let go of the ruse, and Sinclair, in his last moments, too let go of his despair. He attempted to undo the damage he'd done, but it was too late. He and Vera died tragically alone, apart, and Dean lived another day. Dead Money is the only narrative we know that can make us cry for a billionaire.
Vera, if you're reading this, my deepest fears have come true. I have extracted the previous entry after our conversation tonight. It can't have been easy for you. And I'm sorry for all I've put you through in silence. I know that while you do not love me, you did not mean any malice in what you did. I knew about your plans to rob the casino with Dean before you told me. Hearing it from you didn't make it any easier. For what it's worth, I am glad you told me yourself. And I understand what the tapes he had meant for you. When first building this villa, this casino, I meant it for you. As the world seemed to race headlong toward war, it became my desire to protect you. The loans, the funding I poured into the casino's construction. I knew it would not matter when war came for us. It was my means of creating a shelter, a defense, if the world was bombarded in radiation and bombs. When Dean revealed his plans inadvertently through our introduction, I realized what had happened and how I had been tricked. For a time, my thoughts were dark. I changed the casino vault from a shelter to a trap. I knew the first one to enter would be Dean. He would die down here, and it would have been by his own hand. I fear, however, that I have miscalculated, and the only safe place in the casino is the vault. I have tried to rewire the systems, change the protocols, and I cannot. There should be enough in the vault to sustain you until help arrives. I have ensured that there are enough medical supplies down here to keep you comfortable. The hologram should defend the casino from any attackers. The hologram beacon in the villa will broadcast an emergency signal so that others know you are here. When the danger has passed, rescue will come. I hope you were able to read this and know that I loved you. Frederick Sinclair.
That's why we love this DLC. It's not perfect. Aside from the issues we already named, there's a lot of cut corners, times where things are said to have happened that the player can't see. NPCs will say you were transferred by a super mutant or automated systems during a loading screen. No robots or contaminant systems can be found, but trust me, they're there. The path to and from the villa, the Sierra Madre, trust me, they're there too. Cut corners like these are understandable, but still tragic. And with all these flaws in mind, we have to give this DLC a penultimate score. But that doesn't change the fact that it has more to say, more emotions, more innovative gameplay, and just more sheer quality than any other Fallout DLC. Any DLC made for Fallout 3 or 4 doesn't compare. Does the content from Fallout 76 count? Who cares? Wouldn't matter if it did.
You've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino.
We all have. The legend, the curses.
Some foolishness about it lying in the middle of a city of dead.
A city of ghosts. Beneath a blood-red cloud.
A bright, shining monument, reaching out, luring treasure hunters to their doom. An illusion.
A promise that you can change your fortunes. Begin again.
Finding it, though. That's not the hard part. It's letting go.
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 And so we give Dead Money a 9 out of 10. Strongly recommend playing.